Yo,
What's going on, man? How you doing?
doing good, man. Doing good. How about you?
Well, I'm feeling good, man. Today's a special episode, man. We finally got something going. It's no longer just me and Thomas, man. Happy to announce we have our first special guest today on the Black Box Theory podcast. Yeah, we just as excited for y'all to meet him as us to go ahead and interview him.
Yep. Let's. I guess before we say who's here, I'm just gonna throw the disclaimer out there real quick. This is just a podcast. This is not for any financial advice or any career advice. We're just thinking out loud. We're all here to learn together. So don't take this as you have to do anything we say, but just learn from it. Just be open minded and learn from it. But now that we got that out the way, I would like to introduce Jayson Johnson. So our guest on the podcast, first guest, episode 22.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Yeah, now we're gonna go ahead and jump in. We're gonna give y'all quick little background about Jayson. And like I said, it's, obviously, like I said, Thomas and I being HBCU grads, only right. Our first guest is another HBCU grad as well. So yeah, like Thomas mentioned, our guest today is Jayson Johnson, who just graduated from Howard University with a BS in mechanical engineering, same as us. So it's good. We got 3 HBCU students and 3 MEs now, but also minors in computer science and math. And this fall, he's heading to Stanford to start his PhD in aeronautics and astronautics as a Knight-Hennessy Scholar, which is Stanford's flagship multidisciplinary graduate fellowship. And Jayson is the first Howard alum ever admitted into the program out of a cohort of 87 scholars from 31 countries. He's had a ton of research experience sitting at the intersection of aerodynamics, heat transfer, scientific machine learning, and this has taken him through some serious labs, including MIT's Hypersonics Research Lab, Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, Howard's After Lab, and an internship at Muon Space, a satellite company where he worked on both simulation and actual flight hardware qualification. Outside of the lab, he also co-founded Rooted, which is a campus platform now connecting more than 1,500 Howard students with $120,000 raised and an official university partnership in the works. Won first place and $20,000 at Howard's Empower Pitch Competition. He's also a CAR STEM Scholar, a Patty Gray STEM Fellow, an ASME Research Award recipient, and a brother of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated Beta Chapter. And we wanted Jayson as our first guest because his story runs directly through the question that this show and this platform is built on. How do you get inside rooms and institutions that were not designed with a clear on-ramp for you or for people that look like us? And once you're in, how do you use that position to build the on-ramp for the next person that comes after you? So yeah, like I said, welcome everybody. Jayson Johnson, our first guest on the episode. Yeah, we got a ton of stuff we want to jump into today, man.
Man, loaded intro, bro. Jayson, tell us how you feeling.
Yeah, I'm feeling great. I just want to say I'm really excited to be here in the Black Box Theory podcast. I'm really excited to just dive into like a lot of amazing topics and just talk about something that's also like near and dear to us. It's really cool that we're all a room full of like mechanical engineers, HBCU. I feel like there's a lot of great topics we can talk about. I'm really excited.
No doubt, bro. Yeah, for sure. And it's like I said, it's always great to have somebody else, like I said, that looks like us, like I said, with a crazy background and resume like Jayson does. So yeah, it's a ton of stuff for us to dive into today. But like I said, we're going to start things off, obviously starting with the origin. And everybody has their reasons for getting into it, but we want to go back to before Howard. So what actually put mechanical engineering on your radar? And was it engineering specifically? Or did you feel like you had to get forced into it because you just wanted to, jump into engineering? Like what kind of put it on your radar and got you into it?
There was always a push for me when I was younger just to like be innovative and creative, especially like from my parents and things like that. But for me, I generally was so curious in a lot of things. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I feel like you typically have those stories where, everyone is like taking stuff apart and putting it back together. Yeah, that was me too. But something for me is I was just really indecisive. So I just chose a major that I was like, okay, like I could really do anything with STEM. And it was already being pushed really heavy. Of course. And so wanting to do STEM and things like that, I was like, what's the most broad thing I can do? And that ended up being mechanical engineering. Like there's really nothing you can't do. We do everything.
Facts.
I'm sure y'all hear that a lot all the time too.
Nah, for sure.
And so, yeah, I just decided to like take my chances, see what I liked and didn't like. And through like doing mechanical engineering or just like doing a lot of math and science, I was able to really narrow it down to like, okay, I like building stuff. Mm-hmm. And I actually kind of want to get into like aerospace a little bit more too. When I was in high school, I had the opportunity to work at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab. And that was really great for me because I had a mentor who actually had the same name as me, and he was from Maryland. And he would just expose me to so many cool things like aerospace, heat transfer, hypersonics. And to me at the time, like anything that moved really fast was really interesting to me. So I kind of just built upon that. And that's just what got me more interested. I want to major in it in college. And then I was able to do research in the same field. And it just kept growing since then. And I was like, okay, well, I'm good at this. I might as well keep doing it. So it was a little bit of both. Like,
Yeah.
I was put into it, but I just wanted to continue doing it, and we'll see where it goes now.
Nah, that's fire. Were you? I meant to. I just realized like I feel like we have a crossover there because I interned at APL when I was in high school too. Were you in the?
No way.
Were you in the Circuit Aspire?
Yes. Yo,
bro,
that's crazy.
Wow. I did that in high school, like my senior year, but I was on I was working in like on like a almost like an entire I was doing like all research all in like software engineering, like in cybersecurity, Internet of Things, IoT, and AI. So it's like, that's actually insane. That's a small world, bro.
No, it really is. Wow.
That's nuts. You had some time, so you wanted to.
I was going to ask Jayson, what high school you go to?
So I went to 3. So I went to James Hubert Blake High School. So that's like Montgomery County. Yeah. And I also went to Good Counsel. And I also went to Wheaton. So I went to Good Counsel for 2 years. This was like pretty much the 2 years right before COVID happened. And I was going there because I wanted to play soccer. I was playing soccer there. And I was doing the marching band. And then I was really interested in these aerospace classes that they had. And then I knew that I also wanted to go to like Blake as well, just because all of my friends were there. And so it was really interesting. Like I always planned on switching, especially because it's like, post-school education, it's really good. Like I wanted to still take advantage of that. And then when COVID happened, it was already just like an excuse. Like everything's online. I might as well just like be able to go back.
Yeah.
But then Wheaton, because everything was online, I saw that Wheaton High School had a bunch of classes in engineering that I wanted to get into as well. So it was like I was taking some classes online, and that was my junior year. So I was like going to both of them. And then there's this thing called like the Project Lead the Way program, which I feel like
at Flowers too.
Yeah. So I wanted to continue doing that as well. And so then my senior year, I was like, okay, why don't I just like take them in person and just like do the half day schedule that we have and then go to like Wheaton at the end of the day. So I was doing that too. So it was just always like, I was trying to do engineering all the time. I just made it work.
It's tough, bro. I'm not gonna lie. That's hard. That's okay. No, that's major. I did not even realize like you was at 3 in high school. I know and right before COVID too. That's what's up, bro. All right, for sure. Now we're gonna build on that, man. Like I said, like y'all kind of heard from the original intro, like with Jayson's kind of background and some of the incredible work he's done, like in like some like the in-depth research and hands-on stuff that he's done. Wanted to ask you, like, was there a moment early on, maybe your first real research experience or kind of like undergraduate research experience, like where something that you worked on sounded like science fiction or like hard to believe, but it's actually like what you worked on? Like basically like if you had to explain it to someone else, they wouldn't believe you, but it's actually something that you really did.
Yeah, and I would say that's the stuff that I did at the John Tompkins Applied Physics Lab because it was introduced really early to me. Working on hypersonics, I was doing heat transfer. So the simplest way to explain that is you just don't want things to get too hot. And that's kind of how I explain everything. I just feel like it makes the most sense. And it was a really cool experience because you had to like walk into the building, it's a huge research facility. You had to go through like security, all this other stuff. So I already felt like this is just really cool. It felt like the movies.
Yeah.
And then I was finally learning how to use like coding softwares. And I just thought, when you see the screen, you just see a bunch of lines of code running and everything like that. That also felt like the movie. So I was like, okay, this is really cool. And yeah, when I would tell my friends in high school what I was doing, they're all like, oh, that's amazing, real work. And one of the parts I was working on there too was dealing with like heat transfer and things like that. So making sure things don't get too hot or too cold in space. And when I actually had to do a lot of the testing, so putting the things I was working on into like vacuum chambers. So things that simulate these environments or putting it on like a table that shakes it so it simulates an air, like a rocket getting launched into space. That's when I was like, okay, these things are like really real because you actually have to test this stuff. So that's what really made me feel like, whoa, this is really cool.
That's major, bro. And that's like to have that kind of like exposure like that early on, I think is kind of, I'm sure that played like a big part in like, you deciding to like take up engineering when you got to Howard and stuff like that. But in that same breath, like also wanted to ask, like, was there a moment early on also like in your earlier research experiences where you thought like, okay, like I can actually see myself doing this like long term in college, post grad? Or was it like also a moment that you had on the flip side where you kind of doubted like, whether it was imposter syndrome or if you thought like this was a place or a space that you really belonged? And if you, if you kind of like ever doubted yourself, like, is this where I'm supposed to be? Like, was there ever like did you ever kind of have like a feeling like in between either of those during any time when you did research?
Yeah. So I was doing research at Howard apart, like with one of my professors, and she was really big on taking us to conferences to present our research. And so I remember going to New Orleans at like the ASME, IMEC conferences. So that's like just conference where a lot of people in engineering get together. y'all probably know. And it was a competition. So I was like, okay, it's like I get to see what other schools are doing. I thought it was really cool because I just got more exposure to what other people were up to. But then it was kind of like scary because there were like no HBCU representation. The research was all like, well, yeah, it's just from other schools and things like that. And so that's when I felt like a little bit of both imposter syndrome, but also it was a moment in time for me. I felt like I could prove myself and see how I was doing compared to a lot of other people. And so going to New Orleans was also a crazy thing because like I've never really traveled anywhere beyond like Philly, like New York or, you know, maybe Virginia. And so going to New Orleans was a really cool thing. I got there and I was feeling a lot of imposter syndrome then. But like throughout the weekend, things like that, did the poster competition, actually won 3rd place, which was really cool. And it was just amazing to me because there was like very little HBCU representation. There's probably like 60 other students there. And it was just a really good feeling. And that's when I was like, okay, and I feel like this is something I could do as well. That was a big moment for me because it was like the beginning of my sophomore year. So yeah, I was really starting to dive a lot deeper into research, getting into more of those classes specific to my major as well. So it was a lot less like basic, like chemistry and physics. It was like, okay, this is mechanical engineering now. And so that's something that really like hit for me, just going out there and like just competing.
Yeah, no. I get, that's like I feel like you hit on it now. I feel like that kind of like that synergy you had between like, all right, like this is kind of it's kind of scary because there's not nobody else here that look like me, and it's also like I feel like it kind of it's like both things. Like it's a little scary not seeing people like that look like you in the same place, but I feel like it also kind of at the same time puts like a chip on your shoulder a bit because it's like, all right, if I'm the only person here, it's probably for a reason, and I gotta like show out for anyone else that does come after me that looks like me.
But I definitely agree. That's something I feel like is always in the back of my mind, especially coming from an HBCU. Like there's definitely competition at HBCUs. I feel like I'm always there trying to, you know, just put myself out there, see how I kind of, it's like stand out against like my peers and things like that. It's always like a friendly competition. Yeah. And so it's something I'm used to. And then when I'm in spaces where there's not a lot of people that look like me, it's just kind of even more of a motivation. But I feel like I'm ready because I'm already around so much talent in the first place. So it's just great to keep pushing and doing stuff like that.
That's facts.
Facts.
I mean, no, it's great to hear the experiences, bro. I think we can relate to those, and people who are watching, like, reading between the lines, look at the lines, the insight that he's offering, and more that you're offering. Like we talked about what you've learned. Let's talk about what you're doing. Like you've done something great with Rooted, which is now in the middle of an actual institutional partnership process with Howard, which means MSA under negotiation, security review, all of that and more. So I guess I want to ask you, can you explain Rooted, but then also explain what was harder between building the product or getting the university to say yes to the product?
Yeah. Okay, so Rooted is an all-in-one campus live platform. You know, it's actually something you can download on your phone right now. It's information about what's going on around your campus, something that we want to bring to all HBCUs, but things like dining hall information, sports, clubs, just events, for really necessary everyone on campus. And so when creating this application, I would say AI makes things so much easier nowadays. So
1,000%.
Yeah. And coming from the engineering background, it was harder to like do the business side. So like negotiating with the school, and then because they have a lot of different stakeholders, it's like 100 and who knows how many years institution. So they have a lot of things already in place and set up and things like that. And then they don't normally buy businesses from students. So it's just like, you know, it's a lot of new things for a lot of the people there. And so I would say that was much harder than the actual engineering work because that's just what I love to do.
Yeah.
And then like, I always felt like I was really outside my field, especially with like the security things, and then doing a lot of the marketing and promotion, as well as like analytics for the app, and then doing a lot of the law stuff and things like that too. So for me personally, it was a lot harder to do that. So that's what I'd say.
Yeah.
So that's my brother. Sorry.
Shout out, bro.
Yeah, shout out him. He also went to an HBCU, things like that. Doing the podcast right now. But yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, he's helping me with Rooted too, so he's really working on like the sports section and things like that as well. Because we realize there's not a lot of like representation for HBCU sports, like statistics, things like that, and that's something that we really want to bring into the app as well. So like, you know, I feel like a lot of other sports centers like ESPN, things like that, do cover a lot of news for a lot of other institutions, but not like HBCU conferences. So that's something that we want to do too.
Yeah, nah, I was gonna say, I know like every time like I look up like the score when I see like ANC playing or something like that, I have to go to like HBC, like ESPN like 3 or 4 and just to see like I have to go on actual, like it's like if you look up like if Duke or Alabama or Georgia or somebody in the SEC or like the Big Ten is playing, like that's gonna be the first thing that pops up on Google, like the live score with the score bug, all of that. But if it's an HBCU, you have to actually like do some digging. And it's like I know like the scores are also almost always like behind than the actual score in the actual game. So it's like, it's a ton of like, you can tell it's like not as much like effort into quality and real-time updates as obviously some of the bigger, maybe more profitable leagues. But that's major. So I guess like for just to kind of like follow up on Thomas's question, like for the Rooted stuff. So were you? You're a co-founder like for that, right? So I guess did your other co-founder was he like more focused on like some of like the like I guess like the writing like a ton of like the code and like the back end, front end, like the UI stuff like that, or how did you guys kind of like split the work up?
Yeah,
like,
without my co-founder Noah Dayeye, none of this would have been done.
Shout out, bro. App is hard.
Yeah, he just graduated from Howard. He was electrical engineering, and he's now going to Johns Hopkins for his PhD in electrical engineering. So he's
y'all try hard, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
He's on a lot of similar timing as me, and I feel like that's what made things work really well. But at the beginning, so we were trying to build this app before AI was really a thing. And so he was going to focus on like the iOS side of coding. I was going to do Android until we learned like we definitely shouldn't be splitting it up. But now we split it up to where he does a lot of the stuff in AWS in the back end. I do a lot of the front end. And then we just try our best to like split marketing and talking to like Howard University relations and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, early on, it was like we were really dividing and conquering at least the coding until AI just like made it a lot easier, things like that.
Facts.
And so, yeah.
So it's just like y'all two right now, or are you thinking, because I know, you're both about to go into PhD programs, a lot going on with life, I guess. Have you thought about like how this is going to look, in the future in terms of bringing in others or, how ownership looks and just managing it all? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, definitely. So over the past year, we've been trying to build out and expand our team. So we have 8 interns at Howard University who've been working with us last semester. And they've been really helpful with like marketing, things like that, with coding and building the app. And I feel like it's been really great for me just to learn more about like working with other people and seeing kind of how like a business works and flows. And then now we hired more of our friends who were in the same like program at Howard with us, all trying to get their PhDs to do a lot of the like managing and working on the app and trying to build out to other HBCUs as well. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do when we are in grad school, because we know we're not going to have as much time. And then we're trying to get more interns and get like campus ambassadors and things like that. So we're really trying to build. I'm really trying to work a lot better on like managing and things like that, because I realize I can't have my hand in every single piece of the pie. I think that's what they be saying. So I'm just trying to learn and build it just like that. Yeah.
That's dope, bro. That's dope. Yeah. I think, and this is a great bridge. We're going to have to learn more about Rooted. I think this is a great opportunity. It's a great thing that you're doing, that you and your team are doing. I'm excited to keep hearing how that grows. But I guess like with the PhD stuff, the grad school stuff. So you are a Knight-Hennessy Scholar, which we talked about, which in the intro. I guess let the people know. I don't know how many people out there know what a Knight-Hennessy Scholar is or understand the importance of what it means, especially you being the first Howard alumnus to be in the program. So can you, I guess, speak on that program, speak on what it comes with, what you want to share, and then how you think the evaluating process went, what you did to kind of be a part of the program. I know that's a loaded question, but yeah, just what's your experience with all that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll break it up into parts. So first, the Knight-Hennessy Scholars Program is a program at Stanford University, and it's a leadership development program. So it has people from all over the world who are interested in being leaders coming together to one space to just learn and grow off each other. It's for like post-grad. So it's about people who are trying to get their degrees in any type of interdisciplinary field. So whether that be business or like law or engineering, way more. So many different fields I've never heard of that are just so amazing. And so it's all coming together just to learn about how we could be better leaders. They have a lot of like seminars so that we can keep training, and then also to travel around the world so we can get more interdisciplinary perspectives about what's going on so we can be better leaders in the world as well. And so for me, it also comes with a lot of perks where you get to attend the university where they cover 3 years of tuition and other things like that as well. And then they just give you a safe space to where you can like interact with a lot more scholars on campus, give you mentorship and guidance that you need, and also just like provide that community and safe space. And so for me, when applying, it was really interesting to me and something I really wanted to do, because at Howard University, I was a part of this program called the STEM Scholars Program. And that's like a Pathways to PhD program where everyone in the program wanted to get their PhD. And it provided such a great network and a cohort of people that pushed me to keep going. And I feel like I was able to learn a lot of different perspectives, which kept me going. Like I would have never graduated without these guys and these, these people. So it was really great for me. And that's something that I really wanted in grad school as well. And so I feel like that connection of having those people and having those like extra resources really helped me. It pushed me to want to do this. And so that's definitely what I'd say about that.
So
that's dope, bro. That's dope. I think that's a great aspect, especially the whole traveling, like being able to learn more different perspectives. A lot of people, they might hear what you're doing and think, oh, he's just doing it by himself, or like, he's meeting these people. But it's important to, have other people in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I guess you stated research interests at Stanford is computational methods and machine learning for resilient air and space systems in extreme environments. What's the specific question inside that you want to be answering 3 or 4 years from now?
Right. And I know, so this also ties on to a lot of the reasons why I wanted to be a Knight-Hennessy Scholar as well. And I know there was part of the question I didn't answer because it was a loaded question. I was trying to remember every single thing that was a part of the question.
Yeah,
so we can definitely go back to that. But I'd say I'm really interested in space policy. And so I know that's not like something that a lot of people think about. But the reason why I'm so interested is because space is going to end up being like airplanes. You have air traffic control. You have a lot of people who travel every single day. It's like people rely on flying to get to where they need to go. And I think eventually it's going to be just like that in space. We're going to utilize a lot of research and resources in space as well. And it's going to be so common now where we're going to have flights almost every single day. So I think it's really important that as we keep improving this technology and getting into space more and more, we also make sure that how we're getting to space and utilizing those resources and acting politically in terms of who gets what and where and why, that we're also accounting for a lot of the people, that really can benefit from what we can get and gain in space as well. So I really kind of want to dive deeper on how space can be more equitable, literally. And so that's something I really want to dive into. Through my research of being an engineer, I think it's great to just deal with space anyway, but also like my entrepreneurship framework and background, I really want to get more into like the legislative things. So like who's making the decisions? Why are we making the decisions? And I feel like that's also something that I'm so passionate about versus just the research itself. So I really want to build it in those different types of ways.
Nah, that's a really good perspective. I think there are not like, that's a really good perspective, bro. I think like now, like this is like really kind of like super important. I think we're kind of like at this interesting inflection point because it's like you see companies like obviously like Elon Musk's SpaceX, who now is kind of like after they IPO'd, it become kind of like the center of attention for all things like space and what's getting like launched out. So it's like do you see yourself, after you do like kind of like finish your education and get your PhD, do you see yourself kind of like being more of like a freelance kind of like you're kind of like doing like, still kind of like staying true to your passion? Do you see yourself working at a company that's kind of like trying to, push the boundaries of what's possible with space exploration with like a SpaceX or a Blue Origin or like a NASA or something like that? Like where do you kind of see yourself falling? I mean, obviously my guess for you would be like, if you're going through a 5-6 year PhD program, it's because you really like what you're doing and you're not trying to be like, listen to, somebody else to
Nah, I'm really not trying to work for nobody. That's definitely a big thing. I've been trying to like really just keep doing. And that's why, grad school is something I've been trying to do, the entrepreneurship stuff, so I can get to that point to where that's hopefully where I'll be at. Yeah. But in the future, I feel like I see myself doing all those things in terms of trying to explore space, get further into that realm. But then also, you said like consulting in a little way. I want to be able to do my own thing. So it's going to be a mix of both.
Nah, for sure.
I'm not exactly sure how yet, but I'm going to make sure that happens. Just because, I'm so passionate about the things that I'm doing, like you said. And I really want to be able to take those things and be able to do that on my own. Because I feel like what I want to do is not something that's being done already. And so it's going to take more of some like, it's going to take more of like what I'm already doing. I'm passionate about to kind of get there.
Nah, that's major, bro. That's incredible. I think like I personally haven't met like I think anyone kind of like with like from a mechanical engineering background that has like that kind of like kind of specific interest that you do. But I'm definitely wish you the best of luck. I know you're going. I know you're going. What I'm saying, like make something shake or whatever you do, kind of like finish things out. But that's major, bro. This was like we wanted to try to like actually start to transition to more of a round. So this was like the interview portion of the episode, like kind of understanding more about Jayson's background, some of the work he's done, his experience with Rooted and Knight-Hennessy. And now we kind of want to transition to a more of a roundtable discussion between the three of us, seeing that we have like a ton of overlap between, I think, like our background and experiences. And so one thing, like I said at the beginning of the episode, like, we're all HBCU alum. So we have like A&T Howard, whether he went to A&T Howard, FAMU, Morehouse, Clark Atlanta, like it doesn't really matter. Like there are certain things at HBCUs that like don't change like from institution to institution. So
Facts.
one of the first things I wanted to ask, and obviously this is different this can actually be a different answer. Like you going to post grad and me and Thomas going to like being in like a corporate space. Like what is something about coming up through an HBCU that all of us had to unlearn or relearn once we got into the next space after undergrad, where we are 9 times out of 10 the minority in the space? And like I said, we can like divvy this up however, whoever want to kind of like take a stab first is whatever. But
Yeah. I could definitely start with that one. I feel like it's the most common one. I feel like code switching, very necessary. I feel like you can't always portray yourself in the way that you want to. There are a lot of moments where that's like, yeah, you just have to be very aware of your surroundings and what's going on. But I do feel like there's definitely something I've learned is you can't, you still have to be like yourself, and like obviously you're individual and be very personable. And I think the fact that we went to an HBCU, something I'm still like trying to, nail into my head is that you have to be yourself. What we have at our HBCU, the kind of culture that we've gone through, and our personalities and the way they are is amazing. And people don't have access to that because they're just not around us a lot of the time. And we're just so rare. And so something that is really important is to just keep being yourself. And that's going to carry you a long way. And I feel like I've been really lucky to kind of have had that experience for sure. But it's definitely been working for me. It's something I've had to keep like telling myself that I need to keep being myself in order to kind of like thrive in these different spaces, just because, we're so rare and unique and people don't often have experiences like us. So when they do see people like us, they remember it, and hopefully in a good way.
Nah, for sure. Nah, yeah, I think that's a good point. And we talked about code switching like a ton in some of our previous episodes, because it's just like it's such a like a very obvious thing, but I think a lot of people don't realize that like how necessary it is, because like another kind of like unfortunate piece about it is that like obviously we're super aware of what code switching is, but there are a lot of like people that I know that I've come through school with who just have no idea about the first thing about code switching because they've never been in those spaces. And it's just like for them, it's like well, why do I need to change this or change this? It's not more so about like changing everything about you, but it's just like actually like being aware of kind of like where you're at and what's kind of needed. And I think I think a point I say, like, I think something I have to relearn, or I guess like a piece that I never really kind of forgot going from an HBCU to, the next space after undergrad. It's just like the importance of having like community like around you, bro. Like, it's like, I think one thing about HBCU is like, bro, you're going to have like real family, bro. Like you're going to have real, like, whether it's like just, just in those 4 years, like I think being at ANC or being at HBCU in general, like you're going to meet some of the people that are like your friends for the rest of your life, bro. Whether it's through like, from your classes in your major, whether it's through different clubs and organizations, whether it's through a fraternity or sorority, whether like it's like through SGA, like it's just so many different, like the football, like it's so many different ways that you can like build a network of people who are kind of like dear to you and like kind of authentic. I think like that still kind of stays the same. It may not be the same level of like camaraderie or like intimacy in a corporate space, but it's like the importance of having that community and that network, like, those people that can kind of like go to bat for you and advocate for you, when you're not around, and defend you when you're not in the same room, is like just as important, because it's like, whether you're in post grad or whether you're in a corporate space, like you need people in your corner to lean on, to bounce ideas off of, and to kind of like help you kind of like get to that next level.
Absolutely. Nah, you hit that on the nail. I think 10,000%. Like you need those sponsors. Like you need people who will be in those other rooms for you, advocating for you. And that's like one of the most important things. I've definitely learned that it's those connections that you have with other people. It's like, you know more about like who you know than what you know. And I feel like being at my HBCU just taught me so much about that, because trying to get into different places and things like that, it's all about that word of mouth that you have from those peers that you know. So I would 1,000% say that. And that goes into the industry, I think, a lot too. My experiences have been so great because I feel like I always had someone there who's been willing to support me and paved the pathway for me to also like follow in their footsteps. So
facts. Tom, you got anything on this one?
Man, I think I just spent my time in college for the most part trying to prepare for what came next. I mean, I think I was just super aware, maybe too focused on being aware about what, was waiting for us on the other side. Having seen the stuff before, like I've said it before, like previous episodes, but I didn't grow up 100% in Maryland, like in PG, so a lot of people who grew up in places where, it's Black people, like that's the thing where it's normal, right? Where that's just what you see every day. And that's what it is. They continue that at a HBCU, it feels normal. But for me and, a lot of other people, it's like you've seen the other side, you've seen the different spaces you're in, you've seen the lack of understanding, the lack of awareness, like even, like the term Black excellence, depending on how people say that and how they use that, that's kind of backhanded, right? So I think things that I learned at the HBCU was trying to be self-reliant in a space where I didn't have to be, where it's like, okay, I know all I'm gonna have is me in the future. So it's like, can I get through this college experience relying on myself as much as possible, still having others around and having that support system, but just not being too reliant. There was a lot of people in college, and y'all, I'm sure y'all seen this, where people were just relying on everyone else but themselves. Like, just, they never did projects, they never did their own stuff, they just coasted. In the real world, you can do that depending on what you do, but it's rough. Like, you just gotta still have your support system, but it's a little more difficult to find depending on where you're at. So I think it kind of reinforced the learning of being self-reliant, but also still making sure you have people that you can like exist with, speak with. Otherwise, it's just like you just out there. Just floating.
Yeah. I definitely think there's a balance that you need to have. Like, you need to be able to have that self-discipline to kind of keep yourself going, because at the end of the day, you're going to be on your own schedule, your own routine and things like that. You got to make sure you stay consistent. And that's something I feel like I be preaching a lot about, staying consistent. Consistency is going to get you, it's going to help you grow, get you to those places that you want to go. And for me, I've been trying my best to keep editing my routines and everything like that, just so I can keep pushing that consistency. And so I think it's definitely a mix of both, especially when you're around so many amazing people as well. It's just, can you stay in your own lane sometimes too and keep going?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's what's up, bro. And all right, cool. Now, so like the next question is more of kind of like I don't want to call it a hot take, but I guess kind of like a, so we wanted to understand, like, and obviously, like, not to, I mean, it's kind of weird because like we're already like both in both of these like spaces, but it's like, I guess for people that are listening, so it's like and this can obviously be expanded beyond Black engineers, but do you guys think that going to grad school is actually, like, I guess, like the best bet for the most? We also got to consider the context of like what the job market looks like right now, because like even with an engineering degree, like I know it's a lot of people I know that like are still struggling to find a role or like kind of like figure out what's next for them. But is going to grad school, like the best bet for the most ambitious Black engineers right now? Or is it oversold comparing to getting into the industry and working early? I think we obviously going to have different perspectives on this, considering like we in the industry early and you headed off to grad school, but like what's kind of y'all take on grad school with the engineering, degree, and or just kind of like going straight to work? Like I guess to kick things off, I personally think that's more of like that's a personal preference thing. Like I think that's like, I don't really think it's like, I mean, it's hard to kind of say. I think like considering like the context of like how tough it is in the job market right now, I wouldn't be, I don't blame anybody for going to grad school, but I think it's more about, cause I know there are a ton of people who get through an engineering degree and never want to touch engineering again in their life. And that's a big enough reason for them not to want to go back to grad school. But like I said, like what's y'all take on like, like is it the best bet? Do you feel like you kind of like missing out by not going straight to work and getting that hands-on experience?
Jayson, you got it, man. Your world.
For sure. Like you said, it's definitely very personal, because I feel like it depends what your goals are. Like, if you're trying to be a teacher, you got to do academia, so it's just things like that. But for me, I was just not in any rut. Like, I feel like any opportunity you can get off the bat, you got to take it. Like right now, like you said, in the political climate, everything, it's hard to even get either.
It's nasty out here.
It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. For me, I've actually really thought about this for a very long time, because I did my industry internship and I was like, this is great. I love being in the Bay Area, all that. But I was just like, I can hold off on working. I want to hold off on working as long as I can, because I know there will be a point where I'll probably be doing that for a good period of my life. And so I love school. So I'm going to just keep doing that. And that's something that I feel like was the simplest way to explain it. Like, I'm telling you, I was talking to literally everybody at my company. I was like, yo, one-on-one, why you choose work? Why did you not choose to go to school? Or did you go to school? You get a PhD, whatever, why you do that? And for me, what I got from those conversations it really just depended on if you like school or not, and if you wanted to make money. So it's really just those two things. I feel like at the end of the day that a lot of people who were already loving like learning in STEM and engineering just had to battle through. And so for me, I was just feel really lucky that I got this opportunity to continue doing school and not have to rely on that financial part as much through the opportunity that I got. So I was just very thankful about that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, man. I agree with y'all. I think it's preference, right? But for me, it's got to make sense, bro. Like, if you want to get an MBA, you might not want to go to school immediately after undergrad. You want to get some experience. You have something to add to the table. Also, like Jayson said, opportunity. If you have the opportunity between a job that's going to give you $120K or a master's where you're going to be spending money, where you don't have any coverage, you're taking loans. Like let's be serious, right? Like let's think. Like even if you love school, you don't want to put yourself in a financial hole because school will eventually end. I mean, there are people out there who stay in school consistently and, you know, in their 40s, 50s, 60s, like they're always in school. And I think I've heard of that being a method to avoid having to pay back your loans. Like people just stay in school.
No,
but
thanks.
it's like, I think you need, if you're going to do grad school, it should be for a reason. Like Jayson said, he thought about it for a long time. He talked to people. Don't just go to grad school because you don't know what else to do. I think you should have a plan. So I wouldn't say any one is better than the other, but just whatever decision you make, think about it. You can always go back to school, but you can't make debt disappear.
Right.
So
right. And I think no matter what path you do, you're still going to be able to make a big impact on your community. You know, if you're making money and working, you know, at an amazing like corporation, you can always help people kind of get to those points and, you know, be a mentor and be very impactful towards a lot of younger individuals. And I think both ways are great to do that. And so at the end of the day, it's just really like how you want to make that impact as well. There's definitely plenty of opportunity to do it both ways.
Yeah. Nah, I'm not gonna lie. You actually like help low key like make like the perfect intro to the next question, because that was gonna be like obviously like they're pretty different in regard to like kind of like what the platform is like. You know, obviously like you have Root, and we've kind of like have built up this kind of like this podcast audience and platform. So it's like between the three of us, like we've all been able to build something, you know, whether it's Rooted or whether it's the Black Box Theory podcast, like outside of our main job or kind of like program. So it's like, what's the actual, you know, like while we're kind of living in it, like what's the actual payoff of that kind of building beyond something to put on a resume? Like what's kind of like the you know, like you mentioned, like being able to make that impact on community. Like what's kind of like the like what's the goal here? Like what's the end goal? Like what's the real kind of like impact or you know, on your community or on like whoever the intended audience is for both platforms? And I feel like being that we're kind of, you know, super young and early in our careers, like this is something that we clearly have like a long-term goal for. So it's like, what's like the, you know, the payoff for that and kind of like what we hope to get out of it.
Yeah, you know what's great? I feel like it speaks for itself and for yourself with the podcast, talking about how we can improve kind of our community through like what we're talking about and give advice and things like that. For me, for Rooted, I think it's the same thing in terms of we're trying to make sure there's more opportunity that is known about through our platform. And so something I really wanted to do, or the reason why I made Rooted in the first place, is because at our HBCU, there was so much opportunity, but it's just kind of hard to know about it because there's just so much going on. And so I really wanted to build something that I felt like would impact the community, allow other people to get those opportunities that they needed to be successful. And I feel like that's also why I wanted to get my PhD, and that's so that I could kind of hopefully be like some inspiration, a beacon of inspiration to kind of keep pushing others to find those opportunities and get those opportunities that they need to be more successful as well. So I feel like they kind of all tie in together. I feel like it is kind of outside my job or main program to be building Rooted, but I feel like it ties so much into kind of the impact that I want to make in the first place. So I feel like in that sense, it's all in one. And also just part of my personal brand to want to be able to be so many different things or kind of have like impact or put my foot in the door in so many different ways that I can be able to spread that opportunity to others and kind of like be an inspiration for that too. And so, I mean, that's kind of how I live life. If I'm being honest, I really just want to try as much stuff as I can so that, you know, it just shows that it's proof that anyone can do, you know, whatever through maybe just from inspiration. If I can motivate someone to try something new, and I feel like I won at something. And so same with Rooted, they see an opportunity that they might have not seen before, and they are able to like find their way to do something that makes me really happy, and that's what keeps me going. So
yeah, no, that's major, bro. That's major. Tom, did you want to take a stab at it first, or you want me? Go ahead.
Yeah, I could say something here. I think it's a good way, like doing something outside of your regular job or like area is not just a good way to expand your repertoire, but it's also a good way to hold yourself accountable to what really matters. A lot of times we have so many things we want to do in life, you know, but you can't do them all. So if you can start something, for example, Rooted to help people to make access more easy, because everybody's not going to go to college and have all the Twitter pages on day one. I remember going to A&T, you had to have Twitter, bro. If you didn't have Twitter, you was just out the loop. But it's like that's a way to keep yourself accountable to actually fulfilling that part of your mission, as to, you know, help people out rather than just be focused on your own journey. And I think for us with the podcast, it's like we can share things that we're learning and hopefully get to people. At least my goal is to like get to people, share information, have insight, share access to things that we might not know about. You know, like for example, with Jayson on here, we have someone who can speak on things that Malcolm and I might not be able to speak on. So just doing our part to spread the word and just have a level of accountability to the public rather than just saying, oh, we wish, this would change, that would change. People knew more, actually, doing something about it.
Yeah. No, that's something. That's a good point. I think for me, like, I obviously like kind of like being like co-hosts, like we obviously share a lot of the same sentiment towards the platform, but obviously we both have our own reasons. But I think for me, like the biggest thing is just like being able to kind of like bridge that gap. Because I think like going through, like, and back to our original point where I said like a lot of times, like I said, I've been able to intern at incredible corporations. Like I said, I've been at Stellantis in Detroit. I've been at Apple in Cupertino, California. I've been at Microsoft in Redmond, Washington. And each of those times, it's like wow, like I'm so excited I'm here. I get to make a name for myself. I get this incredible internship experience. But then when I look around, I'm seeing like there's no one else that looks like me. It's very few people that look like me, and even fewer that come from an HBCU background. So it's like to my left and my right, I have kids from Princeton, Georgia Tech, Stanford, MIT, like Purdue, like all these like PW. And it's like obviously it's cool because like I'm getting to learn from all these incredibly smart peers of mine. But it's like something in me is just like, all right, bro, like it's a problem and I'm not seeing nobody else that looks like me. So for me, it's like it's bridging that gap, bro, because it's like when I come back to school, I like that, like just even if one person hears this and takes it as like an inspiration or like a piece of advice or listens to something that, Thomas Dyer or someone, a guest that we have on here shares, and they use that to better their lives or to make a decision that's going to, impact them positively going forward. Like that's a win on our part. Like, so it's bridging that gap. It's like, for me, it's about bringing like accessibility in the most like easiest to digest like way possible, because there's so much information online and a lot of times people just don't know where to start. So I think like hearing it from people who have kind of like been in the same shoes, have lived through it, and are bringing it like right to your headphones, it's like, it's easy to do that. And so, like I said, it's unfortunate that it's not more of us represented. But that's kind of like I feel like you can only kind of accelerate that with platforms like this. Like whether it's like I said, it may not be as big as as Earn Your Leisure or Breakfast Club, but it's like that's the whole point of grinding and building it up so that it eventually gets that type of reach and that type of impact on people that listen. But like I said, like for me, it's just about bridging that gap. It's about like making sure that someone else that comes after me understands like what steps I took to get into the doors I'm in now. Because there are so many people that reach out to me on LinkedIn or on whatever social media or way to contact me, ask me about like my pivot from mechanical engineering to tech and how do they get into it? Like, what should I change for my resume? Like this and that. And it's just like, this platform is like all of that in one. It's just like, I especially want to make sure that, HBCU students that may not know the first thing about this, they know like it's possible. Cause like they see, me and my guy here and then, someone else like Jayson, where it's like, it's very possible to do it. You just have to, apply yourself and then get yourself in the right shoes. But a lot of times, a lot of people just don't have the guidance and the wherewithal to kind of like know how to get themselves into those doors. So yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I think it's just like I said, once again, like to reiterate, I think it's incredible to have, someone else on here who's also kind of like building and still doing, on the outside of their kind of like main responsibility. So yeah, this is good stuff, bro, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, my fault. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, because there's a question come up I want to get to, but we got some before that. It's a fun question coming up in a little bit. I think a lot of people might also be interested about, but right now, right, I'm just saying that so people listening, man, stay tuned, keep listening, and thank you all for checking in. But right now, sure. another potential hot take, and I think this is important, Jayson, like with what you're talking about with the future of space and all that, the AI hype. Do you think that the AI hype right now is mostly real, mostly noise, or or where does everybody disagree? On that, like, what are you, I guess, like all of us, like, what are our thoughts on AI? Like, what do you think is going to happen? Just especially like in the field that you're in. Like, I don't know, it's a big part. So
right. No, so AI hype is, I mean, it's real. I feel like it's super impactful. Like, you can literally do anything with AI, especially being in tech and me working very computationally all the time. It's revolutionized everything I've done, from doing my research to managing and like being able to make sure I stay organized. It literally controls my life. Like, I'm not saying I put all my info into AI, but like, there's a good amount.
Just about.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So trying to protect myself by not telling everybody what I put out there on AI, but like it helps me. It pretty much knows me, so it can help me do everything I need to do. So I'm gonna say
you using a local model or like OpenAI, Claude, like one of the cloud models?
Yeah, so I'll be using Cursor, which is pretty much just every model in one, but I really use Notion a lot to control everything. Like I could talk about that platform forever. So
Yeah.
it's just a way to organize everything, but it's connected to AI. So yeah, it's how I just remembered to do things, organize myself through undergrad completely with like classes, assignments, everything. So yeah, it's been really helpful in that way. And then I'm just realizing like through my brother actually just utilizing AI all the time. He does cybersecurity. It's really cool to see the type of work he does. You just do everything just from a desk. And so I just think it's insane. You got to get on it if you're not.
Yeah, bro. Like you gotta. Yeah, no. I mean, honestly, I agree. I think it's definitely like. I mean, it's real. I mean, you can't. I mean, I feel like even if you like aren't all the way super like kind of like up to date with every single iteration of AI development, like I'm sure you've seen like how the stock market has reacted over the last 2-3 years or so, right? Like if you follow like essentially like the economy is pretty much being held up like on the bet of artificial intelligence. So it's like whether you believe it or not, everything is kind of like teetering on this being helpful. And I think the AI hype is real. I think it's just like people just sometimes have a hard time kind of like delineating like what the phases of AI are. I think like the first couple of years was kind of like everyone was trying to like just get the most, compute power, like with building out all these data centers and getting all these GPUs and CPUs to power their infrastructure. And I think now we're kind of like in the point where it's like, all right, like even when you see like these earning reports for different companies, like Meta, who just tanked after they had theirs, like now people are looking for like, okay, what's the actual return on investment for all these billions of dollars you're spending on these data centers? Like what are you actually getting back? Like how is your company becoming more productive? How are you guys optimizing workflows? Like now people are actually looking for like okay, like we know what AI is, but what can it actually do, besides like summarize notes and transcribing. Like, so now people are looking for like the real, I think, applications of it. And I think that's kind of like why we've kind of seen like this big kind of platform shift to like agentic AI and MCPs and understanding like how AI can work on behalf of us. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's real. I think kind of like it also feeds into the question. I think it's also like another application of the question, just like how does that affect like the job market and how does that affect like, people who are studying like stuff like computer science. And so it's like now people are like having these discussions about like what jobs and professions aren't able to be replaced by AI. And it's like, that's a conversation I think we're going to just keep having like as the job market continues to get like, hopefully not worse and worse, but more than likely will. But I think a lot of it comes down to just the way that these big corporations are kind of like justifying these huge layoffs and cuts. Like people are like cutting off thousands of people's jobs for the sake of AI. And it's just like that's what's going to make everybody think that is. But I feel like a lot of companies do use it as a cop out too. Like they don't actually, like they just want to use it as a reason to like fire more people and increase gross margin and profits and just be greedy. So I feel like it's a ton of like ways you can go down. But I mean, like in summary, I definitely do think the AI hype is real. It's just like I think like if you don't, like, I think it is, you are definitely more like likely to get replaced if you don't at least attempt to understand. Like, I'm not saying you don't have to be an AI guru. I'm not saying you have had to work at Google DeepMind for 15 years, but I'm saying like you should at least know how to like use these tools and have a basic understanding of it to keep up with the times, for real.
Yeah, that's a perspective I didn't really think about when you asked the question in terms of like how like that. I was thinking more of in terms of like for me like how useful it's been, but I can definitely see, I can see it from like a perspective of like the world and like capitalism and how people are trying to literally put AI in this outer space, which I think is like insane.
It's insane.
Yeah, it is
bro.
insane. I guess it's like another perspective in terms of like in the education side of how AI is just like you said with computer science, completely revolutionizing how people are learning and how it's actually affecting like smaller institutions like HBCUs dramatically as well, and on both sides. So restrictions or legislation on how students use AI, and that's something that's still like really being thought about today on how we like manage our classes and the education system to change with AI. And I think, I think we're too slow on how we're changing how we utilize AI already. And that just kind of talks about how the AI hype is real, because students aren't really learning. They're learning completely different ways than they used to in the past. And I think it's really important that we have to acknowledge that and change the ways that our professors teach and how degrees are like affected, because a degree in computer science is not as valuable as it was before, or it's just not, the effect is just not the same. So
That's facts. I think realistically too, you got to think like I've actually seen some people say, they're telling their family members not even to go to college if they're trying to go for computer science, and just spend that money you would spend on college on AI, like spend it on tokens, spend it on programs and learning the stuff at home. And realistically, if you're just trying to code and build, a lot of the people that do that stuff, a lot of people made a lot of stuff without college. I mean, obviously we look at Mark Zuckerberg and, you know, these like unicorn people, like one-off examples, but now you can get such access to information. College is still great. I think there's a million reasons you should go, but if you're just looking purely at like education, AI can also help you learn a lot. And I think it works best in tandem with college. And I think like just for my thoughts on the question, AI hype is real. I don't want to say unfortunately. Only reason it's unfortunate is because of the way people don't know when to stop and how it's going to be, capitalism basically is going to ruin it. There's just going to make it what they want it to be and then kind of cut some people off and, you know, government's going to get involved, which we saw the first time the government issued some form of control over it with the Mythos situation. Or Fable 5 with Claude or Anthropic. And, and I also think I was talking to somebody at work recently about this who's super knowledgeable about this stuff. We have to think about long-term what AI is for. AI is not here to help us have chatbots and help you organize Excel sheets and make presentations and send Teams messages. It helps with that stuff. But every major revolution in human history was about reducing the jobs, reducing tasks people had to do. Before people had grocery stores and factories to do stuff, people were doing this stuff by hand. So then what did we do? We had a revolution around it and reduced those jobs. So now everyone's not going out killing their own food. People aren't making their own clothes. So we have to think, what are the jobs that we do now that we don't necessarily have to? Obviously, that's not all jobs. There are jobs people still need to do. Humans are needed for. But it's like, something that's really going to change humanity. What is that next? And that goes back to what Jayson said before about space travel, or not travel necessarily, but treating spaces like where we have airplanes, thinking about the future. And I think it connects also to what Elon Musk has said about universal pay. Ideally, I think when he says that, he's referring to things are going to become simplified. We'll have robots, we'll have AI, we'll have all these things that do these jobs for us that a lot of people won't necessarily have anything they need to do. So if you're not in a specialized area where you're either building this stuff or a doctor or something where, even if robots became doctors, a lot of people probably wouldn't be comfortable with that for a few generations. Yeah, I'm having a robot, but just thinking like long term, like eventually there will be more people than there are jobs to be done. So, that might be a consideration as well. You just got to hope there's universal pay where everyone has good quality of life rather than the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah. Nah, that's a good point, bro. This is like definitely great kind of like feedback from everybody in the discussion. But before we do, like, I know we're coming up close on time here. We got two more kind of like just roundtable discussions here, or discussing questions that we want to kind of walk through. So other one, like, so this is a kind of like little, I guess, like different than like the whole episode so far, but it's still, I guess, kind of like, because I know it's a bunch of like Greek people that listen to this, bro. But like, there's obviously another like kind of like HBCU piece. So it's like this one, I think we can both kind of like speak to our like respective organizations. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, like, so Jason's a brother, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, obviously in Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. I want to ask, like, this is like, I think like TikTok has made this like a million times worse, but like what's like a rivalry or stereotype between both organizations that you think most people get wrong?
Well, one thing is, not everybody's trying to stroll. Like, I know plenty of bros that don't be trying to stroll. They hate strolling. So it's like, there's a lot more behind it than, dancing, or whatever you want to, whatever most people see it as in front of, and on social media and things like that. So a lot of it is about like service and things like that. Impacting your community, stuff like that as well. And I just think that's one of the biggest things people get wrong. So just gotta put that out there.
I agree, bro. I think I think it's that, bro. I think like TikTok has definitely made it like very like it made it easy to kind of like highlight that part of Greek life, but not any of the other stuff. And I think that's kind of like, I mean, I don't remember last time I've ever like just randomly scrolled on TikTok and seen like a community service or like a civic engagement or like some of the other stuff that our organization were founded for, like highlighted in a video that actually went viral. Right. It's always a stroll video or like
some craziness happened where something got shut down. Yeah, like.
You feel me? So it's always, I feel like it's either like the really good or the really bad that gets highlighted a lot. And I think like obviously like strolling is one thing. I think just kind of like I feel like people like, especially when it comes to like just like in particular like Kappa Qs and Alphas, like I think there's like this kind of like just like mental image that most people have like in their head. Just like you can literally go, if you go to any like random person that isn't super like affiliated with Greek life, they don't really follow too much, they will probably classify it as Alphas are like studious, academic achievement, Kappas, pretty boys, and then Qs like dumb like football players or jocks, and just like so I feel like it's a very like it's a very like I don't know the word to describe. It's a very like
ignorant,
narrow-minded. Yeah, I'm not even gonna say ignorant because I know everybody don't care enough about like Greek life to follow it, but it's like that'd be like the main kind of like way they I feel like a lot of people kind of categorize the brothers in each of the organizations, but nah, yeah, it definitely can get you know, a little, like I said, like after I text, like I said, like I think highlight the wrong stuff, but like I said, it's definitely, you know, anybody listening, bro, like definitely great organizations that both do good things, like you know, in their own right. So please don't think like people just joining just to, you know, show all that good stuff. But yeah, nah, like we did want to, like I said, close out with like a piece of advice from each of us. Like for the closing round question, we wanted to ask like, what's one piece of advice each of us would give a Black engineering or computer science student right now who's trying to figure out their next 2 years? Like, what are you telling them? Like, all right, like you could just share a piece of advice to a student that's coming through, trying to figure out what's next. Like what's one piece of advice you guys would share with them to kind of like help give them some stability as they move forward with their journey?
I would start off by saying do what you love, you know, find a project that's something that's very interesting to you because that could teach you more about what you actually like doing. And I think it's really impressive and something that makes you stand out. So especially in a market where it's kind of hard to find opportunities, you can create your own opportunities by creating something yourself. And I think that's really something that'll like diversify yourself through a lot of the other people who are in the same field as you, and just keep pushing that way because it's easier than ever now to create something. And so doing that can be very, very beneficial and it'll take you a long way.
Yeah, for sure.
That's great advice. I was finna say something similar, bro. I mean, you said it well. Like, I mean, I would just say, like, on top of, you know, doing something that you love, just don't be afraid to fully step into it. Don't do no half stepping. Don't, you know, just creep into it. Like, this is the time now. You're in college. Go for it. If it fails, it fails. You know, you don't have a family, depending on your situation. You don't have a family to take care of. You know, you don't have dependents. You don't have a house. You don't have all these things to lose. So just go all in within reason. You know, I mean, we have an example here of somebody who started something in school. Just do it. Figure out what you love, what you don't. Determine your passion, because once you get out of school and you're in the real world, it's so hard to like find what you're passionate about, find what your purpose is, find what you care about. So just try different things out in school, and just don't be in a situation where you look back and say, I wish I could have did something. Just do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Nah. Yeah, that's facts. I think just kind of to close, I think the piece of advice I'd give to a, you know, up and coming engineering student, I'd just be like, you know, I'd say don't limit yourself. And I think like, obviously it sounds pretty cliche, but what I mean by that is like I tell people this all the time, bro. Like don't kind of like bound yourself to like whatever your major is. Like don't feel like that's all you can be. And I think like it's easier for us because like we're, like you said at the beginning of the episode, like mechanical engineering, I chose it for the same reason. Like to me, it's the most, and still is the most like versatile like major that you can, engineering major or engineering discipline, in my opinion, between like it's either between that or like maybe like, you know, computer engineering or electrical, because those are kind of like 2 degrees in one in a sense. But like in the sense of like how many different like pathways you can go, like I think within mechanical engineering you can go into engineering, you can go into tech, you can go into supply chain, you can go into business, you can go into like there are so many different ways. And I think like that was kind of like my mindset, my motto when I was kind of like coming through undergrad. I was like, I'm not just going to be a mechanical engineer. Like I'm going to be like, mechanical engineering is like my field of study, but I can be anything that, you know, I apply to, obviously within reason. Like I'm not saying I'm going to be, you know, some like complete like a lawyer with a mechanical engineering. I don't plan on like something like that. But in the sense of like don't feel like, you know, if you're an industrial engineering student, don't feel like you can only do industrial engineering internships. Like obviously if that's what you're interested in and you want to stay that path, and then do it. But don't feel like you have to stay in the kind of like imaginary box that is your major, because that major isn't designed to keep you in the same, in my opinion, I don't think your major is designed to keep you in the same roles, but I think it's built to kind of like unlock you and let you know and enable you to be able to like get into your roles and more. Like I think like being able to work across several disciplines and being like being versatile, I think that makes you an even more like incredible candidate. Like I said, I'm looking at a resume and I see someone who's done like I said, like to any of our resumes, someone like Jason's who's done a ton of research and they've also had professional experience. Like that pops out to me. Like, you know, if I see someone with a mechanical engineering background that knows the hands-on, that knows the thermodynamics and the heat transfer and the fluids and the calculus and the physics, but they have experience like being a product manager in tech or doing something in supply chain, it's like, okay, like I know that one thing that shows me is that you're willing to learn and you're not afraid of the challenge. Like, because for me, you know, speaking for me, like, I know I'm sure Thomas can relate to this as well, but like going to companies like Apple and Microsoft, like me personally, I don't do what I work on now has nothing to do with what I did in undergrad, bro. Like, I work on an AI infrastructure, high performance computing team. So nothing I do now I did in undergrad, bro. I'm not doing any type of heat transfer or thermo, and it's like it's completely different in that sense. But it's just like the fact that I'm willing to bet on myself to make that 180 and to still like keep up with people who have been doing this all their lives, is like that speaks volumes about me and about people who are willing to make that switch. So that's what I tell anybody that's up and coming, bro. Like I said, don't feel like your major is a box press. If anything, it's a launch pad, bro. Like you can go any which way you want to go with it. Like I said, don't feel like you gotta stay in that kind of field, bro. But yeah, dog, that's that's everything we had today, man. Like I said, I want to also, like I said, just once again, kind of like thank Jayson for being our first guest, incredible guest, awesome background. He has a lot going on for himself. Like I said, I know he's going to do great things at Stanford and beyond. So y'all definitely, like I said, like be on the lookout for bro. Like I'm sure in the headline.
Tell us where to plug your information, bro. Tell the people where to get at
you.
You
know, Instagram,
at
Jayson.Johnson with an N at the end. And Rooted, check out Rooted campus app platform. But we have information for everybody on there. Like I said, sports is coming soon, so definitely check that out. This podcast is amazing. I'm very honored to be, a guest on here. Talking about amazing things and really helpful for a lot of people. So definitely, I got to keep doing what y'all doing. This is great.
Appreciate you, dog. And yeah, like I said, everybody that tuned in, man. Like I said, we appreciate everybody that's been listening. I think we just, I don't know, I didn't check the numbers yet. I think we just recently hit cross 4,500 streams, something like that. But like I said, we started this podcast at the beginning of the year on not as a hobby, but something, all right, let's go ahead and do this, bro. We've kind of like I said, we're not a huge platform yet, but the fact that we about to hit without any crazy, you feel me? You feel that's the goal, bro. But it's without any crazy promotion or collabs or anything like that, we've kind of built this really organic podcast that gets us week over week, just been building and building and building. I think just recently, the last 30 days or something like that, I think we have had over 1,000 new streams across YouTube, podcast, Spotify. So it's definitely growing, bro. It may not always feel like that on Instagram and stuff like that, but we do appreciate everybody that's kind of tuned in, listens to us. Anybody, I know sometimes people come up to me in person, whenever I'm out in Maryland and DC, that say they listen. Shit, like I said, we appreciate all y'all and hey, we'll see y'all again, man.
4,651 streams.
Yeah, like I said, it's up and coming, bro. Like I said, we're gonna try to hit our number by the end of the year, man. And like I said, we're gonna keep it pushing though. But yeah, once again though, like I said, we definitely want to appreciate Jayson for coming on and talking a little bit about his background. And like I said, y'all stay tuned. We'll try to keep having some more amazing people on our platform, man.
Thanks. All right.
Yeah, appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good one, man.
Yeah, have a good one.
Peace.